I know it's been a while since I've done a video, and you can blame me. I've been really busy with Faith to Faithless and stuff like that, which you should check out. They do some great work with apostates. But I don't want this channel to kind of go to waste, especially because it's been, a way of a lot of ex-Muslims getting in touch with me with their problems. So what I'm going to do instead from now on is do more videos that are like answering your question type videos, because I get so many questions and I think a lot of them are the same kind of questions. So by answering them on YouTube, you can kind of be lazier, I guess. Today's question is a pretty common one, and it's a common one because I think a lot of people don't really that's Herrera, by the way, my new cat. A lot of people don't really understand or can't visualize what will happen if their parents find out if they're ex-Muslim. The question is, hello Imtiaz, I messaged you a while back about the problems I'd been having. It's someone I've basically been advising for a while. I just wanted to know, how often do Muslim parents kick out their underage kids because they decided not to be Muslim anymore? Yeah, so that's a very common kind of question, as you can imagine. I think in this particular case, it's relevant because that person had been having trouble for a while, finding it very difficult to reconcile with their lack of faith, with the fact that they live under their parents' roof, things like that. So what I would say is, it kind of depends. There's a few depends that you need to go through. It depends on the country that you live in. So if you live in the West, for example, particularly, or live in a country that's got sort of reasonably good social services, it's not that likely that they'll kick you out, partly because if they do, they might get investigated by social services and police because they have what's called a duty of care over you. It also depends on the community they're in. So if you live in a community where this would be seen as shameful for them to do, or they kicked out their child, you can imagine that they might be a little bit worried about what people say. I know that's horrible, but that's kind of the thinking process. It also depends on your family. Some families, they might be super religious, they might be super strict, but they won't kick you out because at the end of the day, they have to go through a journey just like you do. Just like you went through a journey about leaving Islam, they have to go through a journey to think, okay, well, my child's left Islam, they're young, very young, but I love them. And I think that tension that your parents will feel might be something that reduces your risk of being kicked out like that. One of the things I like to say is, with a lot of things that are to do with ex-Muslims, things are not as common as people say. So things like the risk of being killed, the risk of being kicked out, they're not as common, as far as my experiences, as people think, but they're also not as rare as people think. A lot of Muslims will be like, oh, this doesn't happen at all, we never kick people out, or it's, whatever. No, it happens quite a lot. A lot of people I know have been kicked out. A lot of people have faced, obviously, physical violence and abusive and emotional violence as well. But it's not a guaranteed thing either. There's a lot of families I've dealt with, or children of families I've dealt with, who would have thought 100% that they're going to get kicked out, and actually, family can't do it. It's just too hard for them. So that's where there's a bit of hope. The other advice I would give is, if you are at risk of being kicked out, there's a few things you should do. Depending on where you live, reach out to some charities. This is where it gets a bit difficult, because if you live in a Muslim country, sometimes these charities, you can't trust them. But if you don't live in a Muslim country, or if you live in a country that has something like an Amnesty International branch or something like that, have a look if you can contact them. Just be careful with charities in Muslim countries. The second thing is, reach out to your friends who you trust. This is very important, because I know lots of people that have told their close friends. The close friend might have been a really cool Muslim. I mean, I know someone who told their gay Muslim friend, who was completely okay with being a gay Muslim, about them not believing, and they sort of took that to their family and all that. So just be careful, but do tell your friends who you can trust. This is particularly relevant because if you get kicked out, you might be able to stay with them. I know lots of people who've crashed over sofas, who've crashed with even, their friends' parents' house and things like that. You'd be surprised at how people might reach out and try to help you if things like that happen. The last piece of advice I'd say is, do look at the laws in your country. That's very important. I know you might be young. I was young as well when I left Islam, and you have to become an adult very quickly. It's not a nice thing. Unfortunately, the world we live in means that we get discriminated heavily, and you need to become an adult very quickly. That means research like on your laws in your local country, look at what charities are around you, start to speak with other ex-Muslims. I think that's very important. Check out the ex-Muslim subreddit, which is linked sort of below there, because the ex-Muslim subreddit is anonymous, or it can be anonymous, but also it's a place where you can start meeting other people, so you don't feel like your problems are as rare or as crazy, if that makes sense. So if you have any questions for me, just write them in the comments, send me an email on this email below, or send me a Facebook message on my Facebook page, and I will try to answer as many as I can. I want to do more of these now than the other types of videos I did, because these are quicker. I think they really can help people. They're not the kind of videos that get loads of views, but they're the kind of videos that I think for the people that are suffering from some sort of trouble, this might be able to help you think through your problems. Okay, catch you later. Great says bye. Bye. Say bye. Yeah.